Let's talk about Eddie Howe. So Eddie Howe has done an interview with Gary Neville on The Overlap. In this video, I'm just going to break down a few of the clips from it that I think just show why he'll stay at Newcastle for a long time. If you want to see the entire interview, the link to that is in the description below to The Overlap. It's a really good episode. It's well worth watching. So let's watch the first clip.
And our style of play today is exactly what I wanted it to be in those very early days. So, and we're always now searching for new and exciting ways to play. We're sort of an open book in that we'll never think that's it. This is how we're going to be forever. We're very much changing all the time.
So I think what this clip highlights is the fact that Eddie Howe is always searching for improvement, always searching to develop. He's never just standing still. And I think this is where a lot of coaches and managers go wrong. They have a system, they have something they believe in, and then they fail to adapt. He's managed to adapt in most games. Yeah, we had a bad run at a certain point in the season, but really we're sat in sixth. We're likely to qualify for Europe again, which is unbelievable considering all the injury problems we've had. And I think this comes down to Eddie Howe's kind of just constant drive for looking at new things. And he said in that clip, you know, he likes to focus on the attacking side of things. He says there's more options to kind of play with in that respect. He can come up with new schemes, new ideas. The guy's got 15 tactics boards in his office. Like, it's a bit crazy, but like he's always got these ideas in his head. It shows to me that we've got a manager who is just never going to stop striving for better, striving for perfection. It's just such a positive mindset that he's got. Right, let's watch the next clip.
For us, fourth was never in our eyes last year. It was a case of, could we build from the previous season? Could we continue? Well, firstly, not to have a relegation battle on our hands and grow the team forward. We hit fourth, and I think when we hit fourth, then it's almost a case of, we've climbed so quickly, so early. Where do we go from here? For us, we're hugely ambitious. You never take a step back. It's like, can we improve, not so much on the league position, but in terms of our general performance?
We rose to fourth beyond belief, really, and clearly Eddie Howe wasn't expecting us to do that well last season, but his methods got us there. But what I loved about this clip was the fact that he still says, like, okay, maybe not in terms of league position, but we can still improve on stuff this season. And despite all the injuries, you can point to the fact that that has happened. Okay, we've scored more goals. We could win more matches than we won last season. Things have happened that have shown improvement. Although December to February kind of gave us all a bit of a wobble, I think when you can look at the context of the season as a whole, you can say, yeah, what Eddie Howe's just said there is right. We have continued to improve. Maybe not in league position, but in other areas. And I think that's really, really important. I think he'll be confident for next season, and he'll have learnt a lot from this season as well. So, and knowing what we know about Eddie Howe and that he's a perfectionist and he's always looking at detail, that next season could be very exciting for us. Okay, let's watch the next clip.
My mentality to training is, I take it very seriously. That's my match day, really. And you've either got to train well and get on board, or you're not really going to exist under me. It's not going to work. I'm looking for players that want to work hard, improve, grow, and then I'll be by their side as long as they need. I will every day come to work with a view to getting the best out of every individual player, progressing their careers in the best way possible. But I do believe it can produce spectacular results when you get it right, and I think you can change people's careers, definitely.
This clip shows just what a people person Eddie Howe is. He really genuinely cares about the players under his watch, basically. He genuinely wants to improve them. He genuinely wants the best for them. And I think that is what builds such a positive culture at the club. And I think when you look at somewhere like Manchester United at the moment is a really good example of that. The culture at that club is not right. And, you know, they've spent a lot of money. They've got this expensively assembled squad. But actually, it's not firing, and the reason for that is culture. He works on the principle of coaching people to be better, and he has a track record of doing that. Just look at the job he's done with, like, Joe Linton, for example, or Miggy, or, I mean, the list's pretty much endless, isn't it? It's pretty much every player in the squad has improved under Eddie Howe. That is exactly what he's about, and I love that bit where he sort of says, you know, if you don't train hard with me, you're not going to survive here. And I think that shows the kind of steely side of him as well. Like, he's not just a pushover. He's determined, he's ruthless, but he's also caring and kind. And if you're on board with him, he'll give you everything he's got.
It was one of those things where when we got promoted from League One, you sort of get to the Championship and you think, we're going to have to rebuild here. Yeah. You know, this team probably is not going to be able to survive. I think we finished 10th in our first season in the Championship, and with real late momentum, really good late surge. And you're thinking, had a couple of players here. I think we signed Callum Wilson, and then suddenly the next year we were just an unbelievable team to manage. I loved every second of that. We won the Championship in great style. We played some unbelievable football. And yeah, some of those players that were there at the very early days had come all the way through.
Howe's entire career has been built on working with what he's got, improving players. And I think that's the thing with him is there's lots of managers and coaches out there who work with what they've got, but not many are as good as Howe is at doing it. So Howe took over Bournemouth when they were about to go out of the league, about to go bust. They had a massive points deduction. He kept them up. He got them promoted. He got them promoted again. He got them promoted again. Like, he was doing amazing things with Bournemouth, and he really has earned his stripes. And that experience of improving players, it doesn't matter what level they're at, you can do it with anyone. So he's doing that with the Newcastle squad now. And for me, that's really exciting to have a manager and a coach who is capable of doing that. Like, how many times have we said in the past, like, oh, when it was the Ashley days, no one ever improves. Like, the managers don't improve anyone, and the training's not good. And we had all this conversation, and then it's literally night and day what Howe is doing to what we've had for the past 15 years before he arrived. I just trust in him that no matter who comes in, he's going to improve them. And I think as we get bigger and the money gets bigger and we can buy maybe more established players, I think he'll still improve people. Like, he's got that record. He's one of the best coaches in the league. I don't think anyone can doubt that.
For me, the worst part is disappointing my players. I hate leaving good players out the team. I hate that moment when you're going to disappoint them, especially if they've got great attitudes and they're giving you everything they can give, and you're not picking them on a regular basis. I find that very difficult because I care about their respective journeys and I want them to enjoy playing for me. So I find that difficult.
How do you manage that?
Just honesty, I think, is always for me. If ever I'm in that situation, I just have to be really honest.
Yeah.
And I've found that's never harmed me.
And again, just comes back to the integrity of the bloke. He cares for his players. He doesn't want to disappoint them. He can see when players are working hard for him and giving him everything that he's asking for. But ultimately, there's only 11 players can play. So when you've got a big squad, like every Premier League team does, you're going to rotate players. But players want to play. They want to start games. And there's always going to be disappointment. So what this is telling us is Eddie Howe has good relationships with his players, because even if he's dropping them for a match or putting them on the bench instead of starting them, he's not shying away from having those difficult conversations with them. And I just think that's, again, another really, really important thing for a manager to do.
I reevaluated everything. So I went back, and I've said this in previous interviews, through all my training that I'd done, literally everything.
Well, that season or all previous seasons?
Like forever. Everything that I had footage of, I went back and tried to make it digital. And I think that I found that really, it might not sound it, but really therapeutic to go through all the old training, and that was really good. We did that 5 years ago. It was amazing. And I'd forgotten about it. And yeah, so I took a lot out of that.
Again, this constant analysis, and obviously once he left Bournemouth, he took time to kind of reevaluate everything he'd done in his career up until that point, to the point where he digitized thousands and thousands of training sessions and took things from it. And we know the stories about him going abroad and looking at other coaches and other sports even. The guy works on self-improvement all the time as well. And I think he's leading by example, because to the players, if they see him constantly evolving and improving, they'll do the same. And this whole thing about constant evolution, that for me is what makes him elite, coupled with the fact he can actually do stuff. Like, he can actually be successful at improving people, at improving himself, at changing his principles and the way he does things. Like, he's not afraid of that. That's what makes him elite, in my opinion. And I think we have to stick with him. Like, I genuinely think Eddie Howe is wonderful, and I really, really, really hope that he is the one who brings us that trophy that we're all desperate to have. Whenever I see an interview like this with him, I'm just always really impressed. Yeah, I feel lucky that we have him as our manager.
I felt that connection from day one. Now, I think when we first came to the club, you could sort of see the dedication of everybody, the camping out at the training ground to see us on our first day.
Yeah.
And you're turning up and you're going, people are waiting for us. It's like we were getting in at 6:30 and there was loads of it. And it's like, wow, people here are crazy for the football club. But we needed to try and generate that support in a positive way. We needed to try and galvanise that. And the biggest compliment I can say to everybody connected with Newcastle since we've been here is every game, home or away, they've just given us so much. And that feeling that we're stronger together is just so clear here.
Let's be honest, as Newcastle supporters, that connection with the club that was missing for so long just came back immediately. And we've really, as a fan base, been able to buy into Howe and Tyndall and the whole playing staff, and like there's just so many characters that we genuinely all love. It's great that they feel the same way about us, and there is that genuine connection between the fans and the players, and the coaches and the players, and it is a powerful combination. There is something special about Newcastle when everyone's pulling in the same direction. I don't care what anyone says. It is a unique club in lots of ways, and that is one of them. Like that connection, when it's strong, is powerful. I just love that. I love that Howe embraces that as well, and uses that as a tool as well to get more out of the players and the squad. It's just brilliant.